Okay, I'm going to give you some moves that you can work on for the chucks. It's going to be a variation of figure 8 wrist rolls. These are figure 8 wrist rolls. This is basically you're doing a front to back here and a back to front there. I'm assuming that you already know how to do it, so I'm not going to really go into the details. But what we are going to do is we're going to expand on it a little bit. The first move, assuming I'm doing a figure 8 wrist roll from the side, where I have one circle that's created right here. That's one circle. As you can see, it like sticks on a plane. This is the closer plane, and then there's a farther back plane. Makes a circle here, crosses over, makes a circle there. This is the plane that we're going to work with. But when it's on the closer plane, we're going to extend our arm in a circle with it. So it's going to look like this. Extension of the arm and back. Essentially, it's the exact same thing as this, except for once we cross over to the front plane, our hand is going to basically lock out and it's going to spin around us in a circle this way. Okay, so we're just extending it out. We're just extending this part out so it'll look like this. Big, small, big, small. In slower motion, the hand roll's coming over and down. As you can tell, the hand roll kind of has like a stopping motion. Most of the hand roll happens from about here to over there. It's not hand rolling the whole way through. Once the hand roll happens, I'm just guiding it with my hand until it crosses over into the back plane where I just do a wrist roll. It's just like this one, except for we're lengthening our arm when we do it. Did you notice? It stops right there and it goes across. When you can do that, you can do a behind the back pass with it. So, long, short, long, short. Remember, the wrist roll happens from about 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then the rest of it is just guiding with the hand. Roll, guide. When you do the other wrist roll, you can do a pass behind your back, right over here, and then you can repeat the same thing with the other hand. Essentially, it's going to go long, short. Remember, you're doing the exact same thing, it's just with the opposite hand, and this is what it looks like. Slow motion, wrist roll down. Wrist roll down. So I'm assuming you can do the forward figure 8 wrist roll. I'm also hoping that you can do a reverse figure 8 wrist roll. If you don't know how to do it, let me know and I'll show you, because this next move incorporates both. And the concept is of movement. I'm going to give specific movements because I think that's going to help out more than if I gave the theory of it. So essentially, I am going to tell you this, think of 4 points, okay? You have the short, the closer, and then the farther away, okay? And what I mean by that is when I do a figure 8 wrist roll, one's closer and the other's farther away, okay? So closer, farther, okay? We're basically going to break it up into closer, farther, closer, farther. We have 4 points that we're going to be spinning through here. This is the concept of moving with figure 8 wrist rolls. Everything that you do forward has to go reverse the opposite direction. So what I want you to see is if you can do a forward one here and figure out how to reverse it to the other side. And the way that movement works is once you do your wrist roll, as you cross over, let's say I do my wrist roll here, as I cross over, I do my wrist roll here, and then I cross over and do it in the back, and cross over and do it in the front. This time, I do my wrist roll, I cross it over, and then I wrist roll it over here. So, if I'm going to do it farther and then short, it'll still be far and short, but it'll be over here on the short. Okay? What I mean by short again is this is short, this is far. Just keep that in mind, or back and front. So, the wrist roll is going to come here, just like always. It's going to cross over, but instead of doing the wrist roll this way, which we normally do, right? Wrist roll, crossover, wrist roll, that's what you're used to seeing. We're going to wrist roll, we're going to cross it over here, and then we're going to do a wrist roll on this side, and it'll look like this. Okay? Again, wrist roll, cross, and as it comes down this way, the hand's going to naturally want to go to an upwards one. Here, see that? Okay, so you see that right there? That's your regular wrist roll. This way, and it's back. Again, cross, cross. I'm going to go as slow as I can. It's the exact same wrist roll, you'll notice. It's just I'm sliding my hand out here instead of over there. Same movement. Which is the trick to it. Same movement. Still going back to front. And this is still going back to front. I'm just sliding my arm out. The moment that happens though, you have to change the angle, which is to cross that direction, and now you're doing the reverse figure eight. And it's the same thing. Let's say I want to cross back over this direction. With the reverse one, it's the same movement. Do you see that? Back to front. Okay, so we're farther and closer. Farther and closer. Farther and closer. I don't change my technique, I just change where my hand is. Instead of putting my hand here, I move my hand over here. It's going to do the exact same wrist roll that I would have done over here on this side. The only thing is when I do that wrist roll and I turn with it, all of a sudden I have this side open and the momentum completely changed because you have to change the wrist roll. So back to front, see that? The closer one does a back to front. It's going to do the same back to front right here. But once you do that same wrist roll, it has to change into the front again. So I'm doing a reverse wrist roll here, I do a normal wrist roll here, and vice versa. And if you get used to that, you should be able to continually spin with it. Simple variations is we work a lot with overhand grip. I'm going to give you a very simple underhand grip move. Okay, it's going to work off the 2 points on the waist. There's going to be a point here and a point here. And what I mean by points is you're essentially thinking, I'm trying to get my hand to the other point. You don't have to make it a direct way, but eventually your end goal is to make it to the other point. Then you're playing connect the dots. Okay. For now, we're going to start with this one. Okay, we're going to almost hold it like this is a pencil tip, and we're tracing a line to our stomach like this. Once we trace it over, okay, we're going to let the chain completely use all of its spin to let the chuck bounce off of our back. Okay, and it's just going to look like this. Simple right now. I want to just give variations in how you can extend it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extend our plane, which means I'm just going to hold my hand out straighter and let it spin in a circle underneath, like so. Okay? So instead of connecting the dots here now, I'm pulling it out and then I'm connecting the dots. What's going to happen is this is going to want to spin on its own, which is really good. You're going to want to kind of give your hand a little bit of a shake, and you can pretty much feel it. For me, it's usually like a left and right shake, like so. You're going to get it to cross all the way over to your other body again. So, what I'd like to see is tap, tap, cross, cross. Tap, tap, cross, cross. What's important is what your other hand does. It makes a huge difference if you have, like, you don't put your body into it, or if you do put your body into it. So what I'd like to see your other hand to do, for now, is to trace the chuck by holding it right here or somewhere nearby the chuck. You can get creative. Your hand can basically do whatever you want it to do. Just make sure it doesn't sit still. So we're just going to go like this now. We're going to have our other hand out, give it more of an illusion, or at least a presence that it's doing something. And this right here is a really great move. This is holding on, this one's just kind of, my thumb is open and it's crossing over. A lot of times when you're going in a fast motion, people can't quite tell what it is that you're doing right here. But essentially you're just putting your body into it. I think it's so important to make sure that your body's moving with it, because everything is body movement. I mean, that's presence and spinning, right? So, close, close, spin, far, Now we're going to put our hand close, 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 spin, spin. This is great with fire because when you're spinning underhand grip, the fire's up top. It's protecting you, and this is going to be spinning around. When your hand's over here, you have to learn to hold it sideways more so the fire doesn't hit you, which is usually unnatural because most of the time when you spin foams, you're setting your arm up to get burned. And that's, yeah, a lot of people get burned that way. So we're going to work a little bit of underhand like this again. Bat, bat, over, over. Now, when we're extending outwards, we can add a spin to it. Simply, once we keep it forward, we don't have to move our hand much, we just move our body. And then we tap it, okay? In other words, as I'm spinning it, my arm doesn't really have to move until I do my full spin with my foot, and then I tap it. So, okay? One more thing I want to show is you have this wrist roll right here. We can do it horizontally as well. When we tap across to the same side of our body, as we roll it back, you can see the chuck is going this direction. We can open our hand, and then we're back into a front grip instead of a back grip. And here's what it'll look like here. Tap, right here. And then as I'm coming back for the other tap, this time I'm going to hold it to where my fist is pointing straight out, and then I'm going to open up my hand. The momentum of the side should be almost the same as that. So, tap, tap, roll. And now, as you can tell, I'm kind of holding it upside down, but this opens up more movements, like we can bring it across our head and we can start working on other variations that I will show you later. Just keep in mind right now, I just want to see doon doon, spin, hand maybe. Try to feel it out a little bit. Lower it, get it by the legs, body. This is about as high as you can take it, so that's why you wrist roll it. Once you wrist roll it, then you can take it, you have a higher reach, but you have to be more careful, especially with fire. So I think that's a good start. Once you get those down, let me know and I will bring out more techniques.